topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. It's Donna Campbell with Real Estate Dreams and Beyond. Also with Caldwell Banker Realty, a professional real estate advisor. I'm so happy that you're here with us today. You can join us every Monday at 3 o'clock and listen to the latest real estate updates and things that you need to know to make your real estate dreams come true. Today, I have wonderful co-host with me as usual. I have Lucia Carell from LCS Credit Solutions. Hi, Lucia.
Hello.
Hey, gorgeous. And
Hello.
I have my friend and co-host Jennifer Fanning from Waterstone Mortgage.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Hello, Jen. You look pretty in pink. And
I won't tell you what's on the bottom, but the top.
Okay, don't. And our special guest today and a sponsor of our show is Jill Montague. She's here with Core Title. There she is.
Hello.
So we're just going to jump into Jill's expertise today. And the name of our show today is Clear to Close, which is truly music to your ears whenever you are purchasing a home. You wait for that. I mean, that is the sign that you are going to be a homeowner. So it's not as simple as that, though, on the front side. So, Jill, let's just start with you and tell us about your journey through title.
Wow, the ongoing journey, right? So for the last 21 years, I, at some capacity, have been involved in real estate title, settlement services, legal services, things of that nature. Specifically, and for the sake of this show, performing closings, coordinating closings. And yeah, it's one of those businesses you get into, you're never quite sure how you got here. But here we are.
All of us end up in real estate, right? Like it finds us, we don't find it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's like a really nice bad penny.
Well,
No, but it was the family business. I have my mom to blame for it. So that's how I ended up here in real estate, and I'm so glad to be on today and talk with you ladies and spread some knowledge.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah. Can you just give everyone who may not know, who might be a first-time home buyer, the purpose around a title company?
Okay, so for those of you out there who might be first-time home buyers or might be people who have, conducted real estate purchases in other states other than Florida, I can speak from the perspective of a closing agent, title agent in the state of Florida, which, like other things in the state of Florida and throughout the nation, Florida is very unique in our processes. When you are when you, first-time home buyer, any home buyer, is looking to purchase real property in the state of Florida, you will need a process during which the current owner of the property will transfer ownership to you as the new owner of the property. And what a title company or even a real estate attorney can and should do for you is basically all the heavy lifting throughout that process. And the lifting can be pretty heavy, but the title company, imagine the title company as like the intermediary or, the entity or people at the core of a transaction that coordinate with you, the buyer, the seller, the buyer's agent, the seller's agent, the buyer's lender, Jennifer Fanning, Waterstone Mortgage, and Donna, of course, being on either side of that real estate transaction as a listing agent or a selling agent or buyer's agent. That's another thing about real estate title, is that you might have just heard me refer to a buyer's agent as a selling agent. We like to have multiple terminologies for one thing, so that can be really confusing. But basically what the title company does is coordinate all parts of the transaction, all parties involved. We kind of pave the road that we're all going to travel down to get you to the closing table. During that process, we have to clear title. What does that mean? We have to take the house that you're buying and basically scrub the paper trail that this house has left over the years to make sure that the property is transferred to you and handed over to you in a clean way, so to speak, with clear title, so that you, as the buyer and new owner of the property, will not have to deal with anything that might exist as a result of a previous transaction, etc. Did I miss anything there, guys? There's so much.
I have a question in that. So
Sure.
I had a transaction not long ago where there were several open permits on that property. So, I mean, my understanding is that the new owner can waive and say, we accept that, right? Or they can require the sellers to fix it. Can you clarify really what happens legally with all of that?
Yes, I definitely can help to clarify that. So when you are purchasing a piece of real estate, when you're purchasing a home, you make an offer in writing, and
Right.
that offer is in the form of in the state of Florida and down here, a FAR as is purchase contract. So basically, your agent, Donna Campbell, will take that document, that FAR as is contract, and plug specific information into it as to your name, the property, your offer price, what have you. And that contract basically dictates for you your timeline and everything that you will need to govern yourself by in order to finally purchase and close on this property should your offer be accepted. Why am I bringing this up when Jennifer's asking me about permits? Because permits, building permits, permits for anything you possibly imagine, water heaters, air conditioning, fences, pools, demolition, additions, permits are cited in this FAR as is purchase contract. In the latest contract draft, it requires that a seller help a buyer to close out any and all existing permits on that might affect a specific property. Most agents, like Donna, will write into additional terms in that contract, buyers making this offer based on the fact that the seller agrees to close out any and all open permits or violations that might affect this property. Now, this is redundant a little bit because it's already built into our new draft of the contract, our most recent version, that a seller should be helping the buyer. Can the buyer take exception to these permits and basically acquire the responsibility of getting these permits closed without the seller having to do it? Sure. In other words, can the buyer say, it's okay, I don't care about any of these open permits, let's move forward and close? In most cases, yes, they can. However, if the permits are structural or a violation from the city or municipality has occurred as a result from these open permits, then no, because they become lienable. So they have to be taken care of before closing. Now, if the buyer decides, yes, I don't care, I want this property, I want to close so bad, I got to get into this house, I'm going to take on the responsibility of these permits, we have to, as a title company, build what's called an exception into the owner's policy for insurance.
Huh.
Additionally,
I did
the
not
lender.
know that.
Yes, the
Like, I
lender
just
will.
thought there was some magic wand y'all waved. I thought we were the only people with exceptions, the lenders.
No, unfortunately, I wish there was, but a lender would also have to take exception in some of these permit cases. And we might say, yeah, we'll build in an exception, and the buyer might be okay with it. And some lenders, like your big ones, like your big 6 or 7, like your Bank of America, UWM, all these big lenders will say, yeah, sure, fine, write it into our policy. We don't care. But your smaller lenders are going to see this as some sort of risk, and they might not allow for the exception, which means we have to clear out these permits. We have to have this addressed before the buyer can actually purchase and close on the property.
Yeah.
So
that was good info.
Thanks. My advice, if it's a permit for a hot water heater, whatever, this is Florida, right? There's unpermitted work in every dwelling, in the Tri-County area, at least, right? We've all done things in our homes that may require a permit, but were easy enough for us to do. But if it's a permit for something like, an enclosure or a pool or something structural or something for electrical, I would not personally move forward and purchase a property without that being addressed by the property's owner. It's too much of a liability. It could turn into too much of a nightmare down the road.
What is the biggest nightmare that you have ever ran across in title? I would just love to hear it.
So I would have to say there are a few big problems, right, that we run into that most people will not realize that we're dealing with until we run a title search and get there's death, divorce, and like unpermitted like additions and things like that. There are, I'd have to say, like, my favorite story to tell people, we had a case, a property was in probate, meaning one or more of the property owners were deceased. We were pending the resolution of probate before we can close, because in most cases you cannot purchase a property if it's still in probate proceedings. In other words, if one or both of the people who are in title or any of the people in title are deceased, and it has to move through the probate courts. So we're closing. We've got a thumbs up from the probate court to go ahead and move forward. We're pending 12 deeds from 12 different heirs in different places all over Mexico.
Well,
12. We were waiting for 12 deeds. There were 12 different heirs for this particular property that had to sign over their interest before we could close. And the probate attorney who was handling all 12 of these deeds calls us. Her name was Rose, and I'll never forget her as long as I live. Rose is laughing on the phone with me, and I'm like, are you okay, Rose? And she says, Jillian, I had the deeds with the courier. They were on their way up to you. He left the envelope, and this is in downtown Miami. He left the envelope on the roof of his car, got in the car, drove away. She says, my entire office is downstairs right now from the building trying to help him find these deeds. They lost all 12 of the deeds.
No, really?
Yeah. So she had to do it all over again, and we had to extend another 30 days.
Oh, from 12 different people that had to be tracked down in Mexico.
12 different people. Well, so we already knew where these people were. They'd already signed once. They had already, each of them had to be bought out of the estate. Basically, they're like, yeah, sure, I'll sign this deed, but I want $5,000, or I want, so Rose had to go back through, the estate and actually pay some of these people again to get them to sign again. It was wild. Wow. We're dealing with one right now, open permits. There were open permits for structural things, for electrical, and it had been written into the contract that, seller had to close any and all open permits before we move forward, blah, 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 blah. And so the seller, who's out of state, hires a permit service company, who I will leave unnamed, to get these permits closed, to expedite this permit process for her. Well, as it turns out, the owner didn't really have a great relationship with the president of the condo board at this property. And the president of the condo board showed up when the inspectors came from the city of Sunny Isles to do their inspection and close out these permits, and pointed out a bunch of unpermitted stuff that was done in the unit. We've been waiting. Literally, when I get off the phone with you, or when I get off this with you guys, I have to get on the phone with the city of Sunny Isles to call and file. We've been waiting for 70 days to get this whole permits can be a real pain.
Is there any legality around that? Like, I think about that. I lived in a condominium building for a very brief period of time until I realized how you really are giving up all your rights to the HOA and governing bodies and whatever these 4 or 5 people decide to make as rules. That's what you have to live by. And so I did not last very long there. Yeah. I'm sure they all applauded when I left. But I mean, it seems like that is so wrong that somebody could come in and cause so much chaos, to another owner.
It is wrong, and I've got a very good friend who is a litigator, real estate litigator, and there aren't too many of them out there because of course it gets pretty nasty. But I called him about this case that I was just talking about, where the condo president steps in, and he's like, "There's really nothing you can do. It ends up costing you as an individual more money to pursue and try to litigate in these circumstances than it's even worth, So I think that's part of the problem. Most people who are living in condos kind of resolve themselves to the fact that I'm only responsible for what's inside of my box, the content, literally only have to insure the content. The association is responsible for anything else. When you think of it in terms of having ownership in a condominium and the limited responsibility you have versus the responsibility. We lived in a condo for about 8 years, Jennifer, and
you made it 8 years. I applaud you. I made it 8 months. We lived in a condo for 8 years, and finally it just got to the point where the restrictions and it catches up with you. I was having roof leaks and was at the mercy of the association to get on their thing, to get on the management company, to hire the roofers. Everything just took too long. Meanwhile, you're in the middle of rainy season in South Florida and your roof's leaking and, you got a small child in the house and there's mold and there's everything else, but you have to wait. Yeah. You have to wait for everyone to mire through the red tape. Yeah. Wow.
I think my scariest deal, I've had a couple. One where we did have 5 people that needed to be tracked down and one was in jail. Right. And that's
a good time.
Yeah. That real estate agent got that signed real easy.
I was going to say, in jail, at least they can't go anywhere.
And then, in Palm Springs, we were closing on a home and there was an attorney handling, the other side of it, and I was the buyer's agent and we got ready to close and they said, there's $187,000 lien on this $600,000 property from the city of Palm Springs, right? And the attorney said to me, he goes, well, we can just write that in there and we can go ahead and close with it. And I'm like, well, they're not going to be able to get financed with a $187,000 lien hanging on a property. And what happened is the guy ended up going to court, the original owner, right? And of course, that delayed and postponed the initial closing. He ended up getting it reduced down to $30,000 or something like that. And then he took care of it. And then we were able to close. But I'm very leery of having somebody else's garbage hang out in my new transaction.
Yes.
I don't know how to say it any other way. I do not want to be on a hope plan.
No.
At all.
No. And there's probably one of the most difficult things that, we deal with in settlement services is, yes, we all want to get the deal done. But like at what cost?
Right. Yeah.
And you've got people who will, like, whose best interests are we looking out for? If we're looking
the buyer and the seller.
Right. If we're looking out for the buyer and the seller, then why on earth? You guys, we deal with this stuff all day, every day. The people who we bring to the closing table, the people whose dreams you're making come true, essentially, the first-time home buyers, the investors, the empty nesters, whomever they are, do we really want this transaction to live on past the point of them getting keys or handing over keys? Do we really want to worry about this $187,000 municipal lien out there? Do we? No, we may think, oh yeah, this kind of thing happened. No, like literally, I feel like, and it's pretty much the energy throughout my whole office is, we're looking out for the best interest of the end user, who are the buyer, who are the seller, who are the borrower, and their families and their livelihoods.
Correct.
If something doesn't close on time, it doesn't close on time. That's okay. It will close, but we have to clean up this garbage, Donna, to your point, before we get to the closing table. Just 100%.
Yeah, well, it's in everybody's best interest, right? Because otherwise, so explain to the people listening, like, why this is even important. We all, the three of us here, like, we understand why a clean title is so important. What would happen, say, if the people were like, oh, not a big deal, we'll just assume the $180,000, we really want this property. What could happen, like, down the road with this? Why is this even an issue for you?
So $187,000 lien might only be $187,000 today. Tomorrow, It could accrue interest. It could be a daily accruing violation. In other words, something of that magnitude, a lien that big, probably 100% most definitely was a daily accruing lien, meaning that meaning that, the person who owned the property didn't have something up to code as far as the city was concerned. Maybe, they had an addition that they did that was unpermitted. Maybe they didn't cut their grass for a while. Maybe their house was painted the wrong color.
Time.
You know what that was over? That was over a fence gate being down.
No way.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's all it was.
That fence gate could have gone down in like 2012.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the owner of the property never got his fence gate in compliance, and he was charged, let's say $500 a day since 2012.
Yeah.
And then, at some point he's like, oh, okay, I'll fix the gate. And he calls the city of Palm Springs. City of Palm Springs comes out and inspects the gate. And then they say, okay, you're in compliance. Now let's negotiate. And they allowed him to negotiate it down to $30,000 from, whatever that exorbitant amount was.
So crazy.
If a buyer would have taken on that responsibility, the city very well could have said to the new owner, well, nope, we're not going to negotiate with you because you're not, this guy who we recorded the lien for in the first place. In this case right now that I'm dealing with, Jennifer, where I was talking about how, these people own this unit, they had an inspector come to close permits, and then oh, look at all this. They basically ended up finding a bunch of other things wrong with the property that were not in compliance as far as code enforcement was concerned. The buyers wanted to take on these little permits and just deal with it after closing because they were in such a hurry. Right. So glad they didn't, because they would have taken it on and then they would have had to pay for all the other unpermitted work and all the other crazy stuff that they found during inspection. You never know.
Yeah.
This brings me to something that for some reason, we were talking about that magic wand with open permits. Most agents tend to think that an escrow holdback is a magic wand when you have open permits and stuff like that. And they'll want to let's negotiate a holdback. And okay, Jillian, you guys hold that back $5,000 so we can make sure the seller fixes this fence gate after closing. And, then he'll fix it and you can release the escrow holdback, the funds you have held back to make sure he fixes it, and everything will be fine. Except when it costs more than $5,000 to take care of it, or the seller never ends up taking care of it. And then the only way you can get that $5,000 release is to have the seller sign a release of escrow that no one can find him to sign. Like, it's just nothing is worth having a transaction that contractually is meant to close and end and be over on a certain date, survive that date. Like, nothing is worth that.
No. I 100% agree. And that's why it's important that we use, title companies that are excellent at their job, right? Who care about the consumer and not just moving the transaction along, right? So that's why, we have you.
Yeah.
Jillian.
Thank you. I just, we don't know what we don't know. Mm-hmm. And, just like with a real estate professional or a mortgage loan originator or, a title agent or a real estate attorney, we all tend to stick to what we know and stick with what's comfortable. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And it takes kind of taking a leap. Choosing the right real estate professional to work with, whether it be the title company, realtor, loan officer, whatever the case, it's just like anything else. You're going to get what you pay for, number one. Number two, if you don't try something new sometimes, you may never know that what you've been doing for the last several years wasn't necessarily the best thing for you or for your clients, your buyers and sellers. So, I always encourage people to experiment a little bit, and kind of go out there, going through, the upswing of the market throughout the pandemic and everything. When we're all dealing with all these stressors in addition to like our professional lives and everything else, it made me not only selective over, the kind of business and people that will service through the office, but it also kind of made me want to encourage the people I already work with to explore, new options and stuff too. You may think who you're working with is the safest and best person to be working with until they're not anymore. And we don't really ever find that out the easy way.
That is so true. That is so true. I'm showing a property on Wednesday of this week, and I want to read to you what the agent has wrote down. I'm not going to name the property or anything like that.
Right.
It says, must see property, submit offer requirements, cash only, as is contract, minimum 5K EMD, which must be made in 48 hours. Seller selects title and buyer to pay $5.95 settlement fee at closing. No assignment. 3 days for inspection. 14 days to close. Contract must state buyer shall give tenant 15 days to vacate after closing. Seller agrees that $5,000 will be held in attorney escrow, and if tenant does not timely vacate, escrow will be released to buyer. Anything left behind the tenant shall become the responsibility of the buyer to remove.
What? They just wrote.
Where are you showing that?
That is all in the MLS, right?
Don't show that. Don't show that.
And, some people may think, well, no big deal, if the tenant doesn't move out, but it is a big deal.
It's a very big deal.
I don't like to sell homes where a tenant is still in place unless that's what my new buyer wants to do and they want to continue renting out to them, right? But you have to go through an eviction process if the person decides not to move. And those are costly. They don't come for free. Mm-hmm. There's not a quick resolution to it. You don't know the type of damage that these people are going to do, right? they're not liable for it. So literally they could knock out walls, pull out electrical, take the AC coils out. They could do whatever the heck that they want. And then what you thought you were going to have as a property might not be the same. So there's, if you're out there looking to purchase, it is really, really important that all the fine details are looked at by your real estate agent on the front side, right? Instead of the back side, because you could be getting some people are very eager to sell, right? I'm eager to sell, but I want it to go really, really well at the same time for you after you purchase it. So, what things do you see occurring with that particular listing, Jillian?
So, and I tell agents this all the time. It is, I'm trying to stay up on the new and hip terminology. It's a huge red flag. It's a huge red flag when you look at a listing and someone challenges, because ethically, no agent can write in the MLS remarks. It is against policy for them to stipulate, dictate, etc., where title's going, who's paying for what. You're not supposed to do that. So if it's written in the remarks, in Palm Beach County, of course, it is the custom for the seller to pay for title. In Broward and Miami-Dade, it's the custom. These aren't rules. These aren't it's just a custom. It's customarily the seller will pay for title. But if that's the first thing you see in a sentence in the remarks in the MLS, then that's a red flag.
Yeah.
The person or entity that owns that property is trying to get something past some eyes. Basically, they're making sure that you use it's probably going to be a law office. They're making sure you use their attorney, because that attorney already knows what kind of super damaging garbage is attached to that property and will push the transaction along. Cash only. Yeah, cash only as is. In this market, that seller knows that the only person or people or entity out there that would acquire a property cash only as is another investor that maybe has his own attorney that won't mind dealing with the eviction. That seller's looking for a very specific kind of buyer. They probably know each other. If not, they kind of swim in the same professional pool. Having a tenant on site is one thing. If you can provide leases and rental estoppel, tenant estoppels, and things of that nature, if you can show that the tenant is in good standing, show their history, whatever. Having a tenant occupied dwelling is kind of cool for some people, especially if they're getting out there and trying to invest and purchase the property. But when you've got it in the remarks that, we don't know, this tenant might go, they might not go, that's your responsibility, buyer.
And if they leave their junk behind, you're responsible.
You get to keep it.
Or you can keep it. Oh, I bet it's great stuff.
Listen to the rest of this. Okay. So that is in the general property description.
Right.
And then under broker remarks, do not just send your customers to the property. Warning, home requires repairs, is filled with personal belongings, needs TLC, and is priced accordingly. This is your warning. So do not call to complain about the condition of the property. It is preferred that the buyer conduct inspections before submitting an offer.
What?
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Piece of crap property, and we recommend that you spend.
Oh, and it says don't call the office either. Book it through showing time.
Wow.
Listen, is there an owner agent anywhere in there? Owner agent?
Such a great. Let me look at that.
You might be right on that, Jillian. That it's an owner agent. So you're like, this is what I want. Don't even contact me. Talk to me unless you're willing to give it to me.
Right.
I don't think so.
And a 3-day inspection period, you know what that means? Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a little like kind of off topic, but still on the subject tip. If making an inspection window real tiny, right? In other words, for anyone who's listening who might not know, contractually, part of your timeline is the inspection period. The inspection period is a period during which you can do your due diligence. You can order inspections on the property, have a physical property inspection done. You should try to get your title searches and all your title work back with your title company within this window. Why?
Because you got a 14-day close.
Right. In any case, like as long as you're inside of your inspection window, if you get cold feet or you find something, affecting the property that's not good, or the title search comes back and it's a disaster, you can get out of the contract to get your deposit back no matter what during this inspection period. A 3-day inspection period does not give anyone adequate enough time to get any searches or do any due diligence. It's crazy. It's like it don't. This sounds like a real dumpster fire, Donna. I gotta be honest with you.
Of course, my guy's a cash buyer,
Right.
But I have to wonder, like, when you write a description like that, what kind of justice are you doing for the person that you're selling it for? Yeah. Because you're not selling the property, you're telling
all the bad stuff.
It's all the Yeah,
right.
Like, here's my resume. I was fired. That kind of thing.
But I mean, this is kind of like what you deal with when you get into the investor market.
Yes.
Not so much with single families, but your multi-units.
Yes.
You get into like a 8 to 20 unit property, let's say, in a hypothetical scenario. Those guys aren't trying to sell you anything. Like, the building is what it is. It's full of people we don't know. Like, you want it? Cool. Here's how much it's going to cost. Let's do some inspections or what have you. When you're dealing with single family homes or, a duplex, or first of all, if someone's saying cash only, they know it's not financeable. 100%. Right. If someone's saying they're only going to accept a cash buyer, that means you cannot get a mortgage. You cannot get, that means that there's something so wrong with this property, that's something that affects this property
you could have liens
so
on
much.
It because of this bad tenant that's there. You just,
it could have liens. The roof could be falling in. Who knows?
I have a realtor that was like, called me and says, okay, so I have this listing. I think it's perfect for our clients. We have a mutual client. And it says cash only, but do you think they'll take FHA? I'm like, really? Ask that question. I said, there's a reason it's cash only.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't waste your time. Don't show it. I said, make the phone call. I said, but I highly doubt they'll take FHA.
Yeah. And if you call and you try to make an appointment to see this property and you tell the listing agent that your buyer is an FHA buyer, like, that's not going to work out. It's not going to work out.
Nope.
I mean, no, think of it in terms of, like, you've got $10 million in the bank and you want to turn into like a hard money lender. What kind of property would you use for collateral?
Right. Something you can sell back.
Correct. Something that if you had to take it over and turn around and sell it yourself, you'd be in good shape to do that. But apparently these folks with the tenant that may or may not leave, who knows, apparently that property, they already know it's not financeable. So that's the biggest red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting how there's so many different aspects of the real estate industry and different pockets of the industry. Like, you have, your first time buyer, that's a pocket. You've got your transitionary buyers, that are moving to different stages in life. And then you've got like this group of investor people where really it's just about the money. There's no emotional attachment to it, right? I mean, would you say that, Donna, where the investors, it's really just about the bottom line, the money?
Oh, it's how much can I buy it for? How much do I have to spend, and how much can I get back?
Right, exactly. Yeah, return on their investment. That's what they want to know, because it's meant to make them money.
Right.
I just seen I don't know if you guys seen this or not. This is just one of those things that's out there, but I seen some app the other day online that is for home investing. and it lets you plug in your numbers and show your return. I mean, I guess I could do that in my head too, but basically it lets you rewrite your offer, or, you see that your repairs are going to be at 50,000. Now you need to offer this much less on the property than you did before to get the minimal return that you're looking for. But I thought that was kind of an interesting little thing that is out there right now.
That's a great tool.
I want to talk just a minute about, I guess, one of my listings. I only really want to talk about this one. So this is for people who love tennis or if you love golf. I have a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath home on the 12th hole of the golf course at Ibis Country Club, which is an exclusive resort. Really, it's basically on the Palm Beach Gardens, West Palm Beach line. It has 3 Jack Nicklaus golf courses. It has 4 restaurants. It has a spa, a massage therapist.
Wow, when can we move in?
Yeah, great workout room. It has a main pool that is very much a resort pool. But then you have a neighborhood pool as well. This is a tennis club membership, so the buy-in is $75,000 for that.
Is that annual or one-time fee?
It is a one-time fee, but then there's fees annually as well to keep that up. You can upgrade to golf. The house is very beautiful, has a really nice lanai, and opens up to the 12th hole of the golf course. It's listed for, we just price reduced it to $592. And we are also available for seasonal rental on that. Now, if you're a golf player, you can't go play golf on a tennis club membership. It has to convey one for the other. However, if you are a golfer and you want to buy a golf membership, you can upgrade on the purchase for that. It does cost about $50,000 more. But
it's $50,000. Get both memberships.
It's really, I mean, when you really think about the average home in Palm Beach County being $585,000, I would say this is well above average.
I agree.
On the home, it's 2-story, very open floor plan, 2 double sliders going out onto the lanai.
Nice.
Nice wood floors going up the staircase, plantation shutters, throughout it. Trying to think of what else are the really highlights of it. It has a 1-car garage. But if you're interested in that, I would love for you to reach out to me. 561-685-6663, or you can just put in Donna Campbell with Caldwell Banker and find me almost anywhere, I believe. I'm always.
I think this house needs to be sold.
It does. It's also for rent seasonally for $11,000 a month. And I have one 2 doors down that has already been rented out for $13,000 seasonally for next season.
Okay, it's a better deal. Like, I'm the math person. It's a way better deal for people just to buy it.
Yeah.
And to rent it.
Absolutely.
Like, month-wise, monthly, it's a better deal to rent it.
Yeah, it is. It is a great community. Also, I still have Mount Lachey, Florida, that's on the water. That is commercial property. It is going to be cleaned up because that is where the hurricane came through. And the seawall is going to be put onto that property too, which is going to expand the property.
Nice.
It's 360-degree views of the water. We have got that at a little over 800,000. And I think it's $1 million view.
I'm sure.
I don't know what to say about it. Like, literally, you could, the dock piers are still there, but the dock is gone. But you can see manatee, and the bay has so much wildlife in it. It's big fisherman village over there. Reminds me a lot of Key West.
Nice. So what do you envision there?
Commercial.
So what do you envision going there? Like, what would be, if you were in control of all of it, what kind of buyer would you envision buying that, and what should they put there? Like, what,
probably either a restaurant, bar type, environment.
On the
or
water.
an Outback's water, like a sports water company, jet skis, canoe kayaking tours, something like that. But
Right.
probably the best ROI would be a restaurant bar, because
Yeah.
that village was shaken to its core with
Mm.
a hurricane, and it pretty much destroyed like a lot of the landmarks that were there.
That's so
Um,
sad.
but
It
they're
is.
rebuilding that bridge and raising the road up and doing all kinds of things over there. So, but literally, if you face the building and you do a circle, everywhere you turn, you see water in front of you and back of you. Not to the side, but kind of to the side, So it's a beautiful property. I'm always amazed at how quickly the show goes, because we only have 4 minutes left. So, Jen, what's going on in the mortgage market?
Well, we had a bumpy last couple of weeks with interest rates going up due to people panicking a little bit about the whole, ooh, are we going to pay off, or are we going to default on our federal debt to other countries? And so that really kind of shook up, the mortgage industry. People are on vacation right now. So, which I'm sure everybody sees, makes it a little bit slower. But interest rates are starting to tick back down. July is historically a pretty good month, for people buying, selling, wanting to get settled before school starts, mid to end of August. So I'm positive in my outlook with it. Do I think interest rates are going to be down to 5% this year? I don't. I think that I just don't see that happening. I do see that there's been a brain shift with buyers, which is good, because I think that that's kind of what was stopped the industry quite a bit, last year when rates went up to 7.5. Was that people were stunned, and it was an emotional thing that they needed to wrap their brains around. Now that we're in what I actually call a more normal interest rate environment.
Very normal. This is normal. Normal.
Yeah. Yep, a more normal interest rate environment. I feel like there's more opportunities for those first-time buyers, because things aren't moving so fast and so on fire that they actually have time to find a property, inspect that property, go through the motions, and not just throw everything they own to get to that property with no inspections, no appraisal. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody was waving and doing everything when things were 3%. And it was craziness. And I saw that a lot of people bought properties they didn't really want. So now I feel like things have slowed down to a normal pace with normal interest rates. And I have a very positive outlook on it.
Well, thank you for that. I guess the last thing I want to tell you is that if you're interested in purchasing a house in Key West, yes, that's the brother that you're doing title for. We just finished constructing a new home, basically, down there in Bahama Village, which is 1 block off of Duval Street. I'm not going to say price because we haven't really laid it down. But basically what it is, it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home that has been lifted 3.5 feet up off the ground and totally rebuilt back to its natural conch look. Behind it, a brand new pool has been put in with wraparound porches. A guest house was built on the back side of that.
Wow.
And it has triple sliders that all kind of go into the wall that opens up, so you can set in that efficiency and just look at the pool.
It's a perfect place, Donna.
I know.
And I volunteered to do the open house.
Me too.
I'm all ready to go.
We'll take the Fast Cat down there. That would be a great idea for an open house. We'll host a party on the Fast Cat. We'll get a group of people down to go view the house. It'd be fantastic. I love this.
I love that
That's
too.
Let's
Let's talk later about that.
Yeah.
Right?
We definitely should, because that would be so fun.
Yes.
Wouldn't it?
Oh my
That
God.
would be really cool.
Yes, that's an offline subject. All right.
Yes.
I want to thank Jillian from Core Title for being with us today and bringing all of that knowledge to us. I want to thank you, Jen, for always being on the show and bringing your knowledge as well. And for all of our viewers out there, we just thank you so much for tuning in. A reminder that we'll be back here every Monday at 3 o'clock. This is Donna Campbell with Real Estate Dreams and Beyond. And thank you so much and have a great week. Bye,
Have
you
a
guys.
wonderful week, everybody. Thanks,
Bye.
Donna. Thanks, Jen.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, ladies.